כל עזה וכל ילד בעזה צריך למות מרעב.
On the surface, it is an independent, US-based non-profit founded in February of this year, but it is in truth part of a master plan, backed by the Israeli army and operated by a hidden network of various American businessmen, CIA agents, and organizations including powerful consulting and cybersecurity firms, Palestinian collaborator gangs, and private military contractors. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, short GHF, which has assumed control of Gaza's so-called aid system, is part of the plans that have been developed in secret to reconstruct and take over Gaza. The GHF threatened both international humanitarian groups and local organizations into cooperating. Groups that refused have been shut down. Its operations have been plagued by constant scandals. Since the end of May, over 1,300 Palestinians seeking aid have been killed and thousands wounded, mostly by Israeli forces, armed gangs, and GHF's own contractors. The UN Special Rapporteur on the Right of Food said, Israel has built the most efficient starvation machine you can imagine. A third of the population hasn't eaten in days. Ross Smith of the UN World Food Programme said, this is unlike anything we have seen in this century. The World Health Organization says the worst-case scenario of famine has arrived. The GHF aims at concentrating Gaza's population in camps ahead of their expulsion, a strategy aligned with Israel's stated military goal of seizing the Strip and displacing its residents. A Gaza civil government security official described the initiative as part of a politically motivated and security-driven project dressed in humanitarian garb, designed to, quote, engineering starvation and managing chaos. Who is behind this scheme of death, and why are these structures hidden from the public? Watch to learn how imperialism and Zionism orchestrate genocide at its last stage. The stories I covered don't play nice with the algorithm. They're often suppressed or buried. That's why I rely on you. If you believe this work matters, consider supporting it directly on Patreon. Even a small pledge helps me keep creating and ensures these stories get told. Every like, share, and comment also pushes back against the algorithm. Thank you so much for standing with me and making this possible. The GHF is registered in Delaware and Geneva in Switzerland and began operating in May 2025 in response to unverified Israeli claims that Hamas was diverting humanitarian supplies. Israeli officers have by now admitted what everyone already knew, that Hamas has in fact not stolen any aid. There was one group that did steal aid, but we'll get back to it later. Swiss regulators found that the Geneva-registered branch had no board member authorized to sign documents, no Swiss bank accounts, no valid Swiss address, and no auditing body, and therefore dissolved it. Of course, this was only symbolic and had no consequences. The group also showed no record of how it is actually funded. So what the hell is going on behind the scenes? The aim of the GHF is to monopolize the aid system by building, or rather enforcing, a broad network by bringing other organizations under its control. One such organization is Rahma Worldwide, a humanitarian group active in Gaza since 2017, which has been a key player in delivering aid and medical delegations during the genocide. Then, all of a sudden, the Israeli army tried to force Rahma to work under the GHF, but the organization's director told them to F off and refused to cooperate. The director said that the Israeli army suddenly announced changes to the aid system, demanding that all organizations, including Rahma, send their staff to GHF-run centers. So when Rahma received permission to deliver 4 trucks with 4,000 food parcels, they were surprised to find out that the Israeli army ordered to transfer the aid to GHF centers and an order that Rahma workers assist with distribution there. After Rahma's refusal, the army imposed even stricter entry conditions for aid. The director noted that they had over 20,000 food parcels ready, but would not deliver them through the GHF. So bit by bit, the GHF drove out the existing aid system and replacing it with its own, to safeguard its mechanism of ethnic cleansing. The GHF's executive director, former Marine Jake Wood, resigned, stating he, quote, could not carry out the aid project in strict compliance with the humanitarian principles of solidarity, neutrality, impartiality, and independence, which I will not abandon. So the GHF got a rough start, but it didn't take long before a suitable replacement was found.
Joining us online is Johnny Moore. He's the executive chairman of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation.
Jake Woods was succeeded in June by Johnny Moore Jr., founder of a public relations company and a preacher recognized as one of the 25 most influential evangelical leaders in the United States. He's a close advisor to Donald Trump. His ties date back to the 2016 campaign, when he co-chaired his Evangelical Advisory Board. In 2017, Moore and other leaders urged Trump to relocate the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, after which Trump appointed him to the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom. Moore's appointment as the GHF's leader underscores the close connection of American evangelical networks and Zionist expansion. In my first part on the history of Zionism, we talked about Christian Zionism as the broader European colonial ideological basis for Zionist support to bring back the Messiah and redeem the world. Moore serves as the president of the Congress of Christian Leaders and sits on the board of the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, IFCJ, which provides assistance to Israeli soldiers and promotes Jewish immigration to Israel, which it calls a, quote, fulfillment of biblical prophecy, claiming, we have contributed to the fulfillment of prophecy by helping more than 700,000 Jews make Aliyah, immigrate to Israel, since 1983. Moore is also part of the Anti-Defamation League's task force for minorities in the Middle East. So, with a long record of involvement in the region, Moore has met with various leaders, including the Crown Princes of Saudi Arabia and the UAE, or Netanyahu. Moore says he's played a crucial role in the signing of the Abraham Accords, the agreements normalizing relations between Israel and several Arab states during the Trump administration. So Moore's goals for Gaza are obviously not to provide aid, but are part of a larger plan to achieve US imperialist hegemony in the entire region. But Moore is only the administration's figurehead in this network. Behind this official facade lies a complex web connecting the world of international business, private military contractors, and powerful intelligence circles. One of the tasks of the GHF is to enlist local organizations to achieve a key public relations goal, namely to make it seem like it's the Palestinians themselves who are welcoming this new structure. One of them is the Al-Khuzandar Company, also known as Three Brothers, which had long traded goods into Gaza in coordination with Israel. The Geneva Council for Rights and Liberties documented that Palestinian workers at Three Brothers were forced to work under conditions resembling modern slavery under direct Israeli supervision. The report added that Khuzandar was well known to the Israeli security establishment and had a long history of working with them. It was also revealed that the company tried to recruit influencers to promote GHF centers as safe. One digital creator reported that the business contacted him repeatedly, urging him to film and endorse the centers, claiming there would be no soldiers or Americans. He refused. I would be responsible before my people for the likely disasters they would be responsible for. The Khuzandar family in Gaza later distanced themselves from the company, condemning the actions of Muhammad al-Khuzandar and his brothers as a betrayal of national unity. The Khuzandar Company is not the most notorious Palestinian collaborator in the genocidal aid scheme. In this video, we'll soon talk about the other figure who will be disavowed by his family as well. A Financial Times investigation would soon reveal that while Khuzandar managed distribution and acted as the first interface with the population, the organization that it contracted for security was one at the core of this starvation scheme, one tied to a secretive security apparatus with links to the highest echelons of US intelligence. UG Solutions is an American private military company from North Carolina that has deployed former US Special Forces operatives to handle checkpoints in Gaza and have IDF backup if needed. This is the firm's first deployment since its founding around 2022. It is led by Jameson Gooni, a former member of the US Special Forces. He's also the founder of two companies, One is Sentinel Foundation, an anti-trafficking organization branded around special operations and a partner of the GHF. Its president is a former Green Beret, who frequently praises Hitler on Instagram. The other company is Alcohol Armor. In a YouTube origin story video for the company, Gooni describes himself as a degenerate from Boston who joined the army as fast as I possibly could to inflict pain on the people who inflicted pain on us. The product's concept reportedly emerged during an undercover mission in Nicaragua, where Gooni and his co-founder had to drink heavily to maintain their cover while still being able to recover quickly to continue working. In the military, we're hands down the worst drinkers in the fucking world. I've had my stomach pumped. So now you have a picture of the sort of people behind this whole affair. The GHF's operations also rely on local militias, including a gang led by a certain Yasser Abu Shabab, leader of the anti-Hamas group Popular Forces, which previously attacked UN aid convoys and looted food trucks. In June of this year, Abu Shabab claimed to operate under the legitimate Palestinian Authority while coordinating with the PA and distributing aid in eastern Rafah. A UN official accused these gangs of being responsible for the real theft of aid since the beginning of the war, and noted this happens under the watch of Israeli forces. Even if the Palestinian Authority didn't support Abu Shabab's gang, it functionally serves the same purpose, acting as a subcontractor of the Israeli occupation, and a result of the path Yasser Arafat and his circle had taken decades ago, as talked about in my videos about the Fatah and the PFLP. Finally, in June 2025, Netanyahu confirmed that Israel supplied weapons to Abu Shabab's group. His family publicly disowned him for supporting the Zionist occupation forces and stating they have no objection to those around him in liquidating him immediately. But both UG Solutions and the Abu Shabab gang are not the dominant mercenary army in the GHF genocide network. The other is far more deeply embedded in the core structures of imperial power. Safe Reach Solutions, short SRS, has tried to hide its leadership by registering through an agent firm in Wyoming in November of 2024. But the company's CEO was soon revealed to be a certain Philip Rayleigh. Phil Rayleigh was one of the first CIA agents to set foot in Afghanistan after 9/11. As head of the CIA's paramilitary and propaganda activities, he bragged that the US defeated the Taliban with just 300 troops. Quote, "We crushed them in 45 days. Over 20 years later, the ex-chief of the spy agency in Kabul remains active behind the scenes, playing a key role in shaping the private sector plans for the takeover of Gaza. Rayleigh initiated discussions with Israeli officials already in 2024, only months after the Israeli army began its offensive. At that time, the former CIA operative was serving as a consultant for the global management firm Boston Consulting Group, BCG. You might get confused by the coming links, but just stay with me. Through his involvement with Orbis Operations, a private intelligence firm, Rayleigh contacted BCG on behalf of an Israeli think tank. While BCG's CEO said, "We completely disavow this work," BCG received no compensation whatsoever. Investigations by the Financial Times and the Washington Post revealed that the firm did in fact receive payments for its services. The Financial Times also reported that Israeli entrepreneurs relied on financial models created by BCG to found the so-called Gaza Riviera Initiative, a post-genocide strategy aimed at transforming the Gaza Strip into a hub for global commerce and investment. Listed among these entrepreneurs are two names who were listed in an organizational chart of the GHF. The Tony Blair Institute was also involved in these efforts, with former CIA officer Rayleigh once again acting as the secret connection between the businessman and the think tank founded by the former British Prime Minister. After retiring from the CIA in 2014, Phil Rayleigh worked with several private security and intelligence companies. However, the link between Orbis and SRS only came to light when the Times reported on it. The same report identified key Israeli figures involved in this privatization plan. Among them, an Israeli-American venture capitalist, a consultant who joined the Israeli military office overseeing aid to Gaza, and a tech investor also working for the same office. Although Safe Reach Solutions is officially led by Philley, its roots trace back to Orbis Operations, a private intelligence company repeatedly linked to the former acting CIA director, Michael J. Morrell. But there's more, because in May it was reported that both SRS and UG Solutions of Govoni are part of a shell company controlled by a generational wealth management firm registered in the same address in Wyoming, Two Ocean Trust. Investigations further revealed that the trust's beneficial economic interest lay with McNally Capital, a private equity firm that also happens to own intelligence contractor Orbis. McNally Capital is owned by Ward McNally, a descendant of the family that established Rand McNally & Company, the iconic US map publishing firm. The case of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation represents the sharpest expression of the capitalist-imperialist aid model we all know too well. Under the guise of relief, such initiatives serve to protect the system of global exploitation. These so-called aid structures function both to maintain a worldwide network of dependency on predominantly Western capital and to undermine genuine anti-colonial and anti-imperialist resistance. Alongside this, private mercenary armies are deployed to secure new business footholds for imperialist plunder, replicating patterns we have seen in Iraq and other regions. Israel, despite dressing its ongoing genocide in a thin veil of humanitarian gestures, has long abandoned any pretense of truthfulness. It acts as the attack dog of imperialism, exposing to the world the deep rot of the entire system. The GHF is nothing more than a tool in the broader Zionist plan for conquest. Watch my next video on the Zionist far-right to understand why it has emerged as the suitable instrument for advancing US imperial dominance at this moment in history.